Hello and welcome to Golden Gate Funeral Home, family owned and operated. Carolyn, it's good to see you. This is my sister, Carolyn Haynes, also my partner. We are together 100% owners of Golden Gate Funeral Home. To her left is my good friend, one of my best friends, Minister David Lane. And to my right, Minister Chandrea Fincher. Thank you all so much for being a part of the panel today. Today, we're just talking about Golden Gate Funeral Home, family owned and operated. Carol, as we talk about the history of Golden Gate Funeral Home, but just the history of funeral business, period. Funeral business is normally a family owned and operated business, has been for generations. We have some funeral homes have now joined with the big conglomerate funeral homes, but what they do not do is change the name because they understand the name means everything. Well, Golden Gate Funeral Home, where does the name come from? So let's do a little history. Golden Gate Funeral Home was named by my uncle, James, which is my father's brother. Their mother named James and John, which she chose out of the Bible because they were brothers in the Bible. His brother was 14 years older than he was, so they did not grow up in a household together. Uncle James went on off to the military. Dad stayed home, took care of mom. Later on in life, they got together, and there was a funeral home in Uncle James' hometown, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. The name of it was Golden Gate Funeral Home. So he says, Bubba, you always talk about opening a funeral home. If you open one, name it Golden Gate Funeral Home. And he kept that promise to his brother. So we have Golden Gate Funeral Home. Why white cars? His mother told him at a young age. His mother died in 1968. She had a stroke. Only sibling that I have that even knew my grandmother was Carolyn. Okay. Carolyn's the only one can tell us what grandmother looked like, what she act like. The rest of us do not remember her. I was only 2 years old. Charlotte was only 3 years old. Debbie was only 9 years old. And Michael is only 2 years younger than Carolyn. Of course, he's now passed away. So only Carolyn can tell us about our grandmother. One of the things that my father's always wanted a funeral home, his brother told him to name it Golden Gate Funeral Home. His mother told him, if you open a funeral home, Bubba, make the cars white. All our cars are white.
Yes.
Y'all, that's the history of Golden Gate Funeral Home, thank God. July 1980, was actually September 15th, 1980. Dad started Golden Gate Funeral Home in Dallas, Waxahachie, Texas. We then moved to Dallas, Texas, where we are now. Of course, we came back and opened Tallulah, Louisiana. Yes. We just celebrated, that's my July anniversary. We just celebrated that just on yesterday. Actually, in 2001, we're now 23 years old.
Yes.
But then we came back and opened up in Fort Worth, Texas in 2010, also the same month in July. So we're celebrating the 14th anniversary there as well. Thank God Dad lived through all of those. He was alive for of course, the opening of Waxahachie, Dallas, but as well as Tallulah. So he got to see that in his home state and the Fort Worth location. So y'all listen, that's the history. That's the history. Don't want to bore you with that, but I think it's important that we set the foundation. Family owned and operated. Chandrea, how long have you worked for Golden Gate Funeral?
Combined 14 years.
14 years she's worked under a family owned and operated business. Minister Lane?
It'll be 6 years in August.
6 years in August. So let's talk about it. How is it, Chandrea, to not to have a white boss? First of all, he might look white, but he ain't white. Let's say that. But to actually work for a funeral home. So you was here 14 years, but let's tell you a little history of Chandrea. We met Chandrea at church, at the Mount Rose Church under Bishop Jeffrey Thomas. What year did you join the church?
I joined Melrose June of 1999.
So June 1999, she became a member of the Mount Rose family, which was the Golden Gate Funeral Home's church.
Mhm.
So that's where my mother attended, my father, all the siblings. We all grew up in Mount Rose Church. So Chandrea actually got the opportunity to know my mother. She met my mother. She
Been a great experience. The thing I like the most is because they've allowed their family to also become my family. So that's probably my favorite thing about working for a family owned and operated company.
your family become our
Yes.
family.
Yes.
Of course, we know all your children. We know your husband. Your husband works here as well as one of our musicians. Her daughter has worked here.
Mhm.
Her son has worked here as our photographer.
Yep.
We just, I mean, it's just
We're
your family
family.
become our
Family.
family. David Lane, how is it working for some black folks? How is it working for some African American family-owned and operated funeral home?
I actually love it. I've always been very pro-black and very pro-business. So to combine those two things together, also I think that it's a lot easier to kind of see behind the curtain when it's a family-owned business versus a corporation. That I've had the opportunity to learn a lot from you on a personal basis. A lot of places you don't have access to the CEO the way that I do,
Right.
and I love that. And for the CFO, and it's a very short climb to the top, if you will. We have an open door policy, which I love, which a lot of CEOs don't have that. So I definitely feel the family aspect of it, the closeness of it. And like Chandra said, it's like a family. My mother passed away in October. My father had the opportunity to see this side of it, and was the first thing out of his mouth when we got in the car was, "I did not know that you were that close to Mr. Beckley." I didn't know. I know you said it, he said it, but I actually saw that during arrangements, and that meant a lot to me. And then my family was just so encouraged by it. So this is our family's funeral home. This is
I love it. And I tell y'all, sir, I met Minister Lane. I came to his father's church, which his father is head minister or pastor, we would say, of the Church of Christ, Southern Hills. They had a seminar for their members, and they invited all of these different businesses. We all was there together. We set up in the Family Life Center, and each one of us had the opportunity to speak. There was another funeral home there as well. Afterwards, I met David there, and I recruited him to come and work for us. David is a college graduate. He's an alpha man. He's a school teacher. So I saw that in him, and I was like, man, listen, I'm gonna grab him before the other funeral home grabs anybody else. So this is a true story, and I asked him to come and work for us. Straight recruitment because I was there at the church. He's been with us ever since and became one of my best friends. Carolyn, family owned and operated business. So y'all got to tell y'all a little bit about Carolyn. Is that Carolyn is the oldest of all the siblings. So Carolyn is 9 years older than I am. So that's important that people know that. Is that I am the chief executive officer as well as one of the owners with Carolyn. But I started in the business first. So I started working here in junior high. My mother, I went down to the driver's license place and told them that she was disabled and that she could not drive, and then I had to drive her. But also that my father opened a business in Wasatch, Texas, and I needed to come to work. So at 15 years old, they gave me a driver's license, and they said for you to go to work, and I went to work. So I'm working at the funeral home at the age of 13. I'm driving the limousine in the hearse at age 15. Making family pick up so far. So
15.
I was hello, this is John.
So
That was me.
Hardship.
It's called a hardship license, what it was called. So that's when I started in the business. I graduated high school and immediately go to mortuary college. So I'm in mortuary college at 18 years old. I graduated at 19 years old from mortuary college, became a licensed funeral director and embalmer in 1987. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalming, doing all the pickup and all the embalming. 1987. So remember, I'm very young, but I was the first child working in the business. So people always say, how did the youngest become the CEO? Or how did the youngest become over the business? Because I was the only one that was actually working in the business. Now, keep in mind, it's not like the rest of them were just on bombs on the street. They had their own life. So my oldest sister, y'all meeting her down, Carolyn, has had two careers. I mean, two careers. When we started the business, she was actually a paralegal. So she would help us with that aspect of the business. She wasn't here every day. She wasn't on a payroll, but my mother handled all the finances, all the legal matters. My mother was the administrator, payroll, everything. She did all of that.
Wow.
Carolyn would assist her mother off the books, off the records.
Okay.
At home, she would help her mother.
Mhm.
So she's always been a part of the business. Charlotte was a basketball star, so she would go to play basketball at these different colleges and things of that sort. But she always had to be around the family business. Debbie was a scholar in the family. She's always been the smartest out of all of us. She got a scholarship at the University of Texas right out of high school. She's always been in college and then became a federal police officer and retired as a federal. I think she just retired this year. Didn't she?
She's
She
still
retired.
working. She decided not to
She's
retire.
retired, but she's been doing
She's
over
on the
30
way.
years. Her
Yes,
husband's
yes,
retired
yes.
federal police officer. Not yet. She's gonna retire when she feels
She's
like it.
ready.
So everybody was doing their own thing. My brother Michael was doing his own thing. I mean, but eventually we all came together.
Yes,
Carol, you came in what,
94.
1994 as a full-time employee. My brother Michael came on as a full-time employee. When he passed away, full-time employee.
Yeah.
Charlotte became over the insurance department and pre-need department and a licensed funeral director.
Yes, she is.
As well as Debbie was the only one that did not
Until
become
the-
as a full-time.
Yes.
So when we say family owned and operated, we are
Truly.
really family owned and operated. So let's talk about it, Carolyn. How did you feel coming into the business? Now remember, I grew up in the business.
Mhm.
Now Carolyn came into the business after a career with Southwestern Bell. How many years Southwestern Bell?
13.
13 years. And how many years as a paralegal?
8.
And 8 years. So she's grown. She's very grown. How did that feel to come in and join your family business?
It was really kind of awkward, as John stated, and I was helping mom with the accounting portion of the business. And I called her one day regarding a receipt having to put on the ledger, and she kept me on hold for 2 hours. So I had a real serious conversation with the Lord and said, my mom she really needs help.
Mhm.
So at that time, I decided to come and join the family business.
And you've been here ever
Ever
since.
since.
And not only did she join the family business, we made her a partner.
Mhm.
It wasn't just like, hey, you're gonna come into the business, you're gonna work for us. No. We actually made her an equal partner. So at the time when she came into the business, we had been in business for 19 years almost. I mean, it was a long time. Well, how long? 1980.
1994. So
Yeah, so 14 years we had already been in business.
Yes.
When she came in, we incorporated the business. We had equal shares of the business immediately in 1994. We
Yes.
incorporated, and we have my father as president. You have myself as vice president, and then my mother as, I believe, treasurer,
Yes.
and then you as the secretary. And all 4 of us had equal shares.
Mhm.
It was like 33 and a third.
Yeah.
And then what our agreement is, and even to this day, is as one passed away, the other shares are automatic granted to who's living
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
with no limitations.
Wow.
Yes.
So whoever is living last get 100% of the business
Mm.
with no limitations. Like, it's not like when mom passed that we said, well, mom passed, you have to follow these certain rules. No. It's now your business. You run it. When dad passed, it's now y'all business. Y'all two left. If I pass away first, 100% Carolyn, or vice versa. It can never go to anyone else.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
It can never be owned by anyone else. It's not distributed to our children, our grandchildren. Our estate never owns the funeral home. The only way that happens if you're the last man standing, then you decide what's going to happen with the business.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know that, so y'all see we're very transparent
Yes.
about that. Let me tell y'all my experience of working with my parents. Now remember, we've always been equal owners, which is kind of unusual because they are your
Parents.
parents. But I never worked for my parents. I've always worked with my parents. And my father told me from day one that you are going to run this funeral home, that you are in charge of this funeral home. He said, I'm not going to wait till I die to put you in charge.
Mhm.
He said, you're in charge today. The day I graduated mortuary college, the day I became in charge of the funeral.
Mm.
Immediately, I became the CEO of the funeral home. And he said, make all the mistakes you're going to make. Do everything you're going to do. Just give it your best. I will rebound you when you make a mistake.
Yes.
That's what he told me. Now you remember, an 18-year-old kid
Yes.
is
That's not
been given a funeral home
right.
and said, "Do what you got to do," and he would say this: "I could not rebound you from the grave."
My favorite quote of your father.
So I
Yeah.
want you to make all the mistakes, do everything you're gonna do it now so I can rebound you.
Mhm.
And he allowed me to do it. And y'all, I made a lot of mistakes. But he
That's
rebounded.
correct.
He
Exactly.
rebounded.
He knew that.
Y'all, let me tell you, like I tell anybody when they ask what's a success story, and I have so many great successful friends now. All of us have the same story.
Mm.
We all can tell you, we make 9 out of 10 mistakes.
Mhm.
But boy, when we get something right.
Hallelujah.
Ooh,
Good time.
Carol, that one right.
Yes. Yes.
Makes up.
Makes
We
up.
get
Man,
all
oh
the
my
others.
God. You be like, woo, he came up with that idea. Yeah, he sure did. And that's the key. You can't stop coming up with ideas. You
Right.
can't keep trying. Everything is not a major success. But as long as you keep trying, I said 1 out of 10, so you know I'm gonna do 100
Right.
because I need to get 10 things right.
There you go.
So I thank God for that I had the opportunity to work with my parents. They were my parents. We never changed roles. And people say, "What do you mean by change roles?" My mom was always my mom. My dad was always my
Yeah.
dad. He was also president of the funeral home. My mom was the person who handled the money and operations, but our roles never changed.
Mhm.
Business was always separate from
Family. Sir.
now that was the key. That was the key. That's the reason we was able to stay together. That's the reason we did fall out. And you guys, I've been working alongside Carolyn since 1994.
Wow.
So somebody had to give me that year. How many years that been? Exactly this year it's been 30 years.
Mm.
Exactly 30. Y'all, and y'all not gonna believe this. Y'all ready for a true story? We'll never have an argument.
I was gonna say that.
In 30 years.
I can believe
Yeah.
it.
Now, I didn't say we didn't disagree.
Right.
I said we never have an argument. We disagree daily because we both have our own ideas, but we never cross into each other's lane. So Carolyn was brought in to help mom. She become mom, which is the CFO. So I get ready to purchase something. I talk to the CFO. I know I'm the CEO. I know I own the business. But y'all, I'm not buying the Lamborghini without permission from Carolyn.
Mm.
I'm not buying a G-Wagon. I'm not buying a house. I'm not purchasing a suit
Mm.
without the permission of Carolyn. Because I understand that is her lane. Carolyn, can we afford this? Carolyn, I'm gonna give her the reason why I want it. I'm gonna be very convincing, but we stay in our lane. One of the things I tell my staff is kinship,
Friendship.
friendship. Y'all know it.
Relationship.
Relationships has nothing to do with business.
Right.
That's because I grew up in that situation. So she respects me as the person who runs the operations. I respect her as the person who runs the finance, and it works very well. for us.
Yes. That is it. It does work. It does work.
It works.
And a lot of people ask us quite often, how do you work in a family-owned business? And John's exactly right. I simply tell them, we each have our roles and we stay in those roles and we talk to each other about what's going on in the business. But if we continue to do that, then we will remain okay.
Now let's talk about what is advantages and disadvantages. I'm gonna give it to you in 5 minutes. I promise I won't hold you. Advantage. Being family owned and operated, we make the decisions.
Yes.
Y'all, it's not a corporation. It's not somebody I have to go through a lot of. Y'all, listen, we have some African American people that need jobs. We get to make the decision. We get to make the decision. Do they get a second chance in life? Do we hire the right person for this? But we make the ultimate decisions. Y'all, that is the advantage of being family owned and operated. The decisions are
Yes.
made by us. Have they always been perfect? Of course not. Have I heard sleep I definitely shouldn't have? Of course I have. But remember, I've kept a lot of people too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And was it worth it? Most definitely.
Yes.
Our good has always outweighed our bad. Disadvantages.
Mm.
Now, is it disadvantage of being family owned and operated?
Sure.
That answer is yes. Y'all, you love really hard
Mhm.
family. So therefore, when you disagree business-wise,
Right.
y'all, I have a daughter worked here. I've had a son worked here. She has a daughter work here. Her son has worked here.
Grandson.
Her grandson works here.
Yeah.
Y'all, listen, we have to discipline them. Now, sometimes I have to fire family.
It's hard.
I'm just
Yes.
telling you.
Yes.
That's the disadvantage. If
Yes.
I was on a regular job as a supervisor,
Matter.
firing somebody means nothing. Firing somebody who needs to be fired means nothing. Suspending someone that needs to be suspended means nothing. They're family. guess what? I'll fire you and have to see you at Christmas.
Right.
Keys.
Listen, y'all, we exchanging gifts.
Right.
You fired me last month. Yeah, I see you at Carol's house. Thanksgiving. So that's one of the
That's
disadvantages
disadvantage.
of being family owned and operated. You guys, listen, we can't get it all out in one session.
Right.
I hope we have done everything we could to try to give you a little insight of Golden Gate Funeral Home, African American family owned and operated. I'm gonna take one question before we get off. Go.
Will Golden Gate Funeral Home have its reality TV show ever again?
Reality TV show. So let's be clear on that. We did not own our reality TV show. A lot of times people think hey, I'm gonna do a reality TV show. You can't. You can film it yourself and it can go nowhere. Our reality TV show was owned by TLC. TLC, as we would say, my kids, they bought the show.
Right.
So we have a production company, Park Slopes out of New York came and filmed our reality show. They then shopped the show to different places. TLC purchased the show. So TLC owns Best Funeral Ever, which has Golden Gate Funeral Home in it. So we don't make the decision on the reality show. Actually, Hollywood does, New York does,
Yes.
and things of that sort. And I won't do a show today about reality show. But listen, it was something else to say the least. Chandra was a part of that. She was a part of it. I can't tell you this, you guys. I have no regrets. I had a great time, and I thank God for the experience. We were the very first African-American funeral home in the world to have a reality show.
Wow.
Where we were it, y'all. We were number one. And when you see something like these extreme funerals and these people doing different things, remember that started right here at Golden Gate Funeral Home. Y'all, we can't get it all out in one
day.
morning. Thank y'all so much for being a part. I promise you next Saturday we'll be right back here. Today we talked about being family owned and operated.
Yes.
Maybe we'll talk about the reality show next week. We'll see. Be sure you tune in. May God bless you. May God keep